And so we talked a little bit before the show. We had a couple of text message exchanges, and I wanted to get some of your fades and I matched them up with some of my fades. And it seems like, look, I'm an Arthur Smith guy, and I think the Falcons have generally been a good source for fantasy production, usually a narrow tree. Matt Ryan, outside of that one MVP year, has mostly been just like an average to above average quarterback, but he's been fine, generally stays healthy. You had Matt Ryan on your fade list. You had Julio Jones on your fade list, and I have Kyle Pitts on my fade list. So it sounds like we're trying to relegate the Falcons to the CFL here. Explain to our listeners why you don't want Ryan or Julio this year.
So it's always based on cost. I mean, part of it, I guess, is that it's kind of the Sharks who are doing best balls right now. But, the public sort of comes in July and August, and we see sometimes the more narrative driven stuff with the ADPs. And I think one of the things we're going to see is that Matt Ryan is going to be spiked by having Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, and Kyle Pitts as his pass catchers, and not having a real obvious stud running back there. So I think people are going to maybe over project Matt Ryan in redraft this year. And I mean, I believe, led the NFL in pass attempts last year and just barely crept into quarterback one territory. I think he was 12th in fantasy scoring. I mean, we've seen the yards per attempt. As you've said before, it's not a perfect stat, but it's a good back of the napkin indicator of QB effectiveness. We've seen that kind of tick down for Matt Ryan the last few years. I think he's sort of going to get overdrafted based on situation and the attractiveness of that pass catching group. And Julio, it's just to the point where the injuries have me concerned. I think I probably won't ever have him again in any league. I'm guessing like he's earned the respect, of course, and I think he's always going to get that respect in drafts. And I'm just a little too fearful of the downside. Now there's more target competition, I suppose, too. So, even if the price drops a little bit, I don't think it's going to drop far enough for me to be interested.
He's probably the easiest player for me to scratch off my list. I'm not going to draft him. Look, he's really been kind of the souped up version of Andre Johnson, just a target machine, a yardage machine, a physical freak. But the touchdown column has generally been light. And if we were always to look at the players, and we talked earlier about Marvin Jones, I mean, you're always getting good ADP value on Jones. The thing with Julio is you have to draft him like he's going to be a god. And if you were to always try to be a year early on the guys like Julio Jones when they hit the decline versus a year late, I think you'd be ahead of that game most of the time. And there's also talk that maybe the Falcons will be interested in trading him. It's hard for the NFL to make trades except for very specific windows. We know their trading deadline. The NFL is almost always a dud. It's extremely rare to see a big trade happen in the summer. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but it's still kind of out there. Maybe there's a 5% chance, a 10% chance. But maybe Ridley's the alpha here now. Pitts is going to be a mouth to feed. So yeah, I'm out on Julio. The thing with Matt Ryan, there's so many great athletic quarterbacks who either pad their fantasy stats by running or they actually drive them by running. I mean, we've never seen this group with Lamar Jackson. Cam Newton has the most rushing touchdowns in history at the quarterback position. He's gone over double-digit touchdowns 3 years in a row, and he's not even one of the guys we want anymore. Dak Prescott will run in a handful every year. Kyler Murray is unstoppable when he runs. Lamar Jackson is an amazing runner. Josh Allen would, with 7, 8, 9 rushing touchdowns would be projected on anybody's sheet. If you're going to be a pocket quarterback, man, everything, every I better be dotted, every T better be crossed, and everything really needs to fall right. Because Matt Ryan is going to run for 78 yards and maybe a touchdown. You're getting nothing from him. He's spotting the rest of the field all that easy. I feel like 2/3 of the league is doing that now. You mentioned Lawrence earlier, who I think is going to probably run in 5 or 6 touchdowns. You're getting none of that from Ryan.